We're still, yeah, we're live. I guess we're live.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's still no countdown on this. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Bearded Men of Real Estate Show. I'm Ray, and this is Dan. Say hey, Dan.
Hey, Dan.
And we are two Bearded Men of Real Estate, which makes us great hosts for the show that we're now 99 episodes in on.
Whoa. Will there be something fun for 100?
Will there be? Stay tuned for next time.
Yeah. Teaser alert.
Teaser alert. 100th show is next week. Yeah.
100.
We'll find some fun stuff to do in that show.
Hold on, Ray. Let's just take a second to reflect on that. 100 shows. Wait. We can be syndicated now and make a ton of money. Yes.
Good. If only we could have a sponsor.
Oh.
So thanks everybody for tuning in the show. If you're watching us live, you can actually comment, and then we could display your comment on the screen, and we could talk about you and your comment. So we'd love to have that discussion. I think that's one of the things that makes our show different, is that we're actually we'll actually talk and display all the comments that we can, just like this, just like Melissa Marr, almost as if it was planned and on cue. She says, "Hey guys, hey Melissa, thanks for tuning in this week. We'd also love for you to share the show." That would be a huge benefit to the discussion we're going to have. There's a lot of ghostwriting, as I call it, in the headlines today. We're going to talk about a house in the deep dive that's too haunted to sell. And I want to hear some of your opinions on haunted houses, if you've ever sold a haunted house, especially, or if you've shown one. We can share a couple of stories. This one feels like an October show, but it's not. Everything's wonky anyway. We're also going to talk about one. We're also going to talk about home prices. Are they looking scary? Are they going up and down? We have a couple of opinions on that. Also love to hear from realtors around the country and what home prices are doing in your area. And the Fed dropped the rates to 0. So we'll talk a little bit about what that means for consumers and what that may mean for agents moving forward too. So we got a ton of news stories to get into. But Dan, before we get into all that stuff, Edward Cairo, he says hello from sunny Phoenix, Arizona. Hey, buddy. Thanks for joining the show.
They don't have any other weather. It's always sunny. So literally every week on the show.
No, that's a movie, right? Always Sunny in Philadelphia, though.
That's a great show. If you guys haven't watched that one, ooh, that's a good show.
Tom Tezak checks in from Maui. Yeah, that's all. Melissa Mara says the haunted houses. This is October yet? Yeah, exactly. By the way, Tom had a video up the other day talking about the Hawaii Food Bank and how people can help because they need some help. So go check out Tom's page, and especially that video. Chris Murray says, when we were in New Orleans in March, so many signs said not haunted, which looked the same to me as if someone said, this house doesn't have any mold. Edward says it's 105 degrees there today. Yeah, we have a nice, we're in the 70s. It's breezy. It's a beautiful spring day here in Arkansas. So, all right. So before we get into all this stuff, Dan, could you tell us a little bit about what Be More is actually all about?
I'd love to. Now, when Ray and I met here on the interwebs about 3 years ago, you remember 3 years ago, Ray?
I do, yeah. Love that.
I actually had an idea for a show because I am, in fact, a bearded man of real estate. And when I met Ray, I noticed something very interesting about him. He has two different color eyes. Did you guys know that?
Well, I have two colors in both eyes.
Oh, he doesn't even know that because he doesn't really.
That close, Dan.
He actually had a layout for the show. So we combined Wonder Beard powers, and it's the same layout that we do today. But more so than that, we noticed about each other. We love giving value up front to our clients and also to you guys. So it's about being more as an agent, but also being more as a human.
And a lot of these articles come up in our conversations with clients through the week and other agents too. So it's something that we always kept our eye on. So we thought, hey, if we're going to have these discussions, and we were talking about this, through text for a while before we even started the show, if we're going to talk about this stuff, then why not just talk about it publicly? Because these are all things that we need to think about.
Yeah.
Let's see. Tom Tezak said food banks across the country need all your help. They're under severe pressure. I can second that. So Arkansas previously fed, the food bank fed 17% of Arkansas before all this stuff. So yeah, for sure. All right. Are you ready to get in the headlines?
Not yet. Hold on.
All right, let's do it.
Ooh, Lisa Listenberger jumping in. Hi.
Hey, Lisa. How are you? Haven't seen you in a while.
She's usually just a creeper. She watches for our devilishly handsome good looks, but now she's checking in today. I like it.
Yeah, I can see how many people we have viewing the show and how many people we have commenting, and there is a disparity. So don't be a lurker. Participate in the show. Mm-hmm. And here is your first opportunity to participate, because I got to use my face. There you go. I had to use my face ID. We're going to talk about weekly home mortgage applications to buy a home, making a strong recovery. Let's see. There it goes. Okay. So the first story, this one comes at us from, I believe this is CNBC. Yep, CNBC. So the news has picked up on what the bearded man of real estate has been saying for a few weeks now, that buyers are returning to the market. That was actually in the title of our show last week. So as you can see, this is evidenced by the strong mortgage application numbers that rose last week, and refinance demand finally fell after several weeks of surges. While total application volume was down 3.3% for the week, it's still 218% higher than last year.
Wow.
So mortgage demand from buyers jumped 12%, while the volume was 20% lower than the same week a year ago. This is a good sign for the marketplace. Here's a quote from Joel Kahn. Oh, wait, you know what? Hang on. Wonder why this wasn't matching. So literally, this is last week's show.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you.
Yeah, so this is really funny because I was reading this. I was like, oh, this sounds just like last week's story.
Yeah.
That's because that is last week's story. Hang on. Let me get this week's story. This is the one that was last up when I opened my computer. I literally have not used my laptop in a week, which goes to show you this just goes to show you how much I actually use my laptop versus my my iPad over there that's hooked up. All right, hang on just a minute.
Yeah, and by the way, a lot of the stories that we shared this week over the last week in Be More Contributors, by the way, if you're not a member, go ahead, Be More Contributors with an exclamation point. They did mirror what we cover on the show. We are purveyors of the early days of the show, because we do stay very current with our stories, just not right now.
Yeah. We're literally a week behind. So yeah, I clicked on episode 98 instead of episode 99. Yeah. We do keep all of these. This is a much more fun beginning anyway. We do keep all of these articles for you guys. But before we get into the article that I was just talking about, hang on just a minute. I want to show you guys a search result that I did yesterday. I'm going to leave you up on the screen too, Dan, because I want your opinion on this.
All right.
Did you guys hear about the coronavirus mutating? So we'll start talking about that. The coronavirus has mutated. Study reports mutant coronavirus may be more contagious. The coronavirus mutated appears to be more contagious. Study reports mutant coronavirus. Wait, I want to find the one that says, hang on. New strain of coronavirus. Study shows mutant coronavirus now more contagious. So there's another one on here that said a mutant study reports mutant coronavirus that may be more contagious.
Right. That sounds scary, right?
It sounds super scary. However, if you guys paid attention in biology, do not lose heart, because the mutant coronavirus also means that whenever a virus mutates, it actually loses some of its strength.
And they all mutate, all of them.
Yes. And so I found a much better article for us to use for this from Science Times. So we're going to remove a little bit of the hysteria. Let me bring up this article. The Science Times, coronavirus has mutated into a more contagious but less deadly strain, says Newsweek. So it seems like all of the headlines hit on one big part of this, that there is a mutant virus, and that mutant virus is now way more deadly. But if you go to the Science Times, and this is why it's more important than ever to check sources, yes, it's mutated, but it's also far less deadly. All right.
And by the way, this isn't like a recent mutation that's far less deadly. It mutated the one that's widely being researched around the world.
Yep.
Is this strain now, right?
Oh, wow. Look at this. I'm going to put this up. Valerie Crowell says, I'm haunting the show.
She is.
Good. Melissa Mara says, Ray, you okay? I am now. I got the right stuff up now. Chris Murray says, mutated into a murder hornet.
My favorite meme, by the way, Ray, is the Kinsey says, what's up, guys? My favorite meme out there is that it's the government, like, you know, people talking to the government. It's like, people are kind of not as concerned about the coronavirus right now. And then release the hornets.
Good. Like Elizabeth Rodell said, except Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they got was more deadly.
They got way more deadly.
Oh, there it was. Yep. Lisa said, wait, I thought high school was to play grab ass with the other guys. I was supposed to learn biology. Yep, that's true.
Hey, did you know that Lisa and I went to different high schools together? Ray and I did too, actually.
Oh yeah, we were at the different high school together.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the Fed, which is a very heady conversation, but we were just in science, so it shouldn't be that far off.
Well, and our point is, what have we done since day one on this show? We've gone way past the the headlights. Gosh, I can't talk today. Ray, we need to start the whole show over.
You can't talk today. I can find the right article.
Yeah, we go way past the headlines, and that's especially what's going on right now. Do your own research. I posted a meme about yesterday or the day before. Do some research. It takes, what did that take you, Ray? 30 seconds?
Yeah, that took me 30 seconds. So I did see a meme where someone was like, do your own research. And then it had like another pen, and the guy like had a microscope. I was like, no.
Not that far. No.
All right, so let's talk about the Fed. So we'll go into what happened to the Fed, and then we'll also kind of give a brief summary. I've got a video about this coming out next week, but I'll go through a brief summary of what the Fed going to zero actually means and what their mandate is. So let's talk about that. So the Fed signals it would likely hold rates at zero for months. So this came from a virtual, they did a not in-person conference. It was a virtual news conference. So the Fed signaled they would keep rates near zero. The reason was, of course, the downturn caused by the coronavirus outbreak, and the chairman Powell said that they would continue to do all could to help the economy through an array of emergency lending and bond buying programs. Powell believes that the impact on the economy could be up to 1 year, and warned that deep, prolonged recession could cause bankruptcies that would keep unemployment high. So here's a quote from Powell during the virtual news conference. The quote, "We will use our powers forcibly, proactively, and aggressively until we're confident that we are solidly on the road to recovery." As an example, the Fed announced earlier this month that it would buy corporate bonds and lend to states and cities, which they have never done before. So this is an interesting twist to what's happening with the Fed. In general, the Fed has a dual mandate. Part of it is to keep prices low to avoid inflation, and the other part is to maintain full or near full employment. So the way they do this, one of the tools they use is the Fed funds rate. The Fed funds rate is what banks lend to each other, right? So without getting too heady, if that's high, then the banks don't want to lend to you. They'd rather lend to another bank overnight to meet the reserve requirement, and they make money. If that's really low, like near zero, then banks can make way more money by lending to you, the consumer. So then you could buy more stuff, businesses can expand, and that's what the Fed is trying to do now. So it's not about housing at all, really, right now. If you're just talking about the Fed keeping rates at zero, what you want to watch for is the Fed buying bonds. And as they buy bonds, that means banks have more money to lend out because they no longer need the money to meet the reserve requirement. So the buying of bonds and the selling of bonds to the cities and states and things like that is a big move for the Fed and something that could keep mortgage rates low. So don't be fooled when you see, Fed keeps rates at zero. Doesn't
mean zero to you.
Yeah, that doesn't necessarily mean that your mortgage rates are going to go down. You want to watch for the buying of bonds and the 10-year yield. So there you go.
This week's Fed update from Ray.
Watch for the video. I've got a video that kind of explains it a little bit better that's coming out next week.
All right. So when you're reading the first story, I was like, I need to ask to make sure we're on track here, but we are now.
Sorry.
Well, this is the fun of doing a live show, and this is why we prefer live. I mean, we dig this stuff and we can handle this stuff. So this is why we love the live comments. And again, this is why it sets our show apart from anyone else. So we're on coronavirus mortgage bailout programs grow again as more homeowners delay payments. This is from CNBC. As job losses from the COVID-19 pandemic mount, I'm just going to call it the Rona. Can we just call it the Rona?
Sounds good to me.
I'm tired of it's just every 30 seconds is COVID-19. So as job losses from the Rona mount, more and more borrowers are delaying their monthly mortgage payments and taking advantage of the government's bailout program. The numbers have been swelling at a rate of about 500,000 a week. As of last week, more than 3.8 million homeowners were in forbearance plans, representing 7.3% of all active mortgages, according to Black Knight, who we've quoted on the show before, a mortgage data and analytics firm. While larger servicers and big banks have indicated that they can stomach the losses, Mr. Cooper, one of the nation's larger non-bank services, reported a $171 million net loss in its first quarter earnings released Thursday due to a market-to-market loss in the value of its servicing portfolio. Now, if they were Zillow, they'd be killing it right now.
Slay.
They'd be slaying right now. This is a quote from, I will get to that in a second. 2020 will be a much different year than the one we planned for, but we've executed our contingency plans and positioned our balance sheets and bank facilities appropriately. As a result, we expect our business to continue to produce excellent results throughout the year, said Chris Marshall, Mr. Cooper's vice chairman and CFO. And as a note, Mr. Cooper said it services $629 billion in home loans as of March 31st. So they are the biggest, aren't they? I think they're the biggest.
Yeah, either the biggest or third largest service. I can't remember.
Here, well, it just says one in the article, says one of the nation's larger non-bank servicers.
I would bring next week's show where we talk about it more, but I don't want to lose my place anymore.
No, we can't. We can't afford it anymore.
They haven't paid us for the mention, so
no one's paying us for the mention. Damn it!
Not yet. What happened?
We got some good comments if you want to catch up.
Okay, let me put those on the screen here. This is on the previous story. Ryan Bokros said they also make money on reverse repos and purchase agreements, which is what the Fed does. Yeah, there's about 4 or 5 tools that the Fed uses to make money and to benefit the economy with that dual mandate. So if you want more info, you can look it up. It's pretty heady though. Jason Northcote says, "What's up? What's up, buddy?" Melissa Marr said, "Call it the Rona. It's simple." Lisa said, "I prefer you call her Rona, but she is a hoe."
But she's a hoe.
She's a hoe.
My ho Rona.
Ha! Surely that's a meme by now.
I don't know. It's not the coronavirus. It's the ho Ronavirus.
All right. Speaking of money, pending home sales tank nearly 21% in March, but realtors claim prices will hold up.
So this one's really interesting to me, Ray. So after you read through it, Northcote wants to know if he should drop some memes in here. No, not in here, please. Actually, sure.
I don't think we could display the memes, actually.
We can't.
I could drop a picture to see if it's possible, but
he's got some dank ones. So yeah, Jason, why don't you throw one in? But after kind of stories like this and seeing a bunch of these and posting some in the contributors page, I ran my own numbers and they are extremely interesting, Ray. So I'll cover those once you're done.
Yeah. So if you're an agent watching this, run your numbers real quick and let us know what's happening to you.
Just your city, super, super hyper local.
There you go. Okay. So we know homes. We know that home sales are down in March. Nationally, signed contracts to purchase existing homes. Home sales fell 2.8%, and February was 16.3% off annually, according to the National Association of Realtors. Prior to COVID-19, we were already seeing we were already dealing with a shortage in housing inventory, and many sellers then decided to remove the home from the market during the shelter-in-place orders, which are in the process of being lifted. So here's a quote from Lawrence Yun, NAR's chief economist. "The housing market is temporarily grappling with the coronavirus-induced shutdown, which pulled down new listings and new contract, and consumers became more accustomed to social distancing protocols. As consumers become more accustomed to social distancing protocols, and with the economy slowly and safely reopening, listings and buying activity will resume, especially given the record low mortgage rates. That was all a quote from Lawrence Yun. And that's why we're seeing, and that's what we're seeing already. Mortgage applications to purchase were up 12% for the first time in 5 weeks, which was reported last week. Still 20% lower than annually, but we see a change in market activity. So Yun's predicting a 14% drop in home sales for 2020 compared to 2019, but not big losses for prices. In fact, due to the, and this is a quote from him again, in fact, due to the ongoing housing shortage, home prices are likely to squeeze out a gain in 2020 to a new record high. And he believes the prices will increase 1.3% for the year. So here we have a home price gain slowdown, but we still have home price gains. I'm going to put up Tom Tzak. He's already done the research here. He said, in South Maui, we had 17 sales in March, 0 sales in the first 2 weeks in April, 3 sales in the third week of April, and then bam, 23 sales in the last 10 days of April. Things are definitely turning in the right direction.
So for me, I went to the 13th or 14th of March, kind of when the slowdown, the shutdown or whatever you want to call it happened.
Yep.
So I did January 1st to March 13th or 14th. And it was, I don't know. The list price to sale price was within, I think, $8,000. I can go find it real quick. So if you're listed, I think my average sale price was $650, $643, something like that, an average. And this is just for Rancho Cucamonga, California, here in Southern California. And then average actual close price was like $643 or something. So it was close, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I ran, this blew me away. When I ran from that date, so the 14th or so of March until now, which was 2 days ago when I ran this, I think it was Monday, the average sales price or the average list price had gone down. Okay. But the average sale price, the average close price had gone up to like 652. So it was like list price was like 619 average. Close price was like 652 average.
Huh.
And now it was a shorter time frame. So there were less homes, but it wasn't a crazy drop off. It's almost like if you're just solely looking at the numbers, Ray, it seems like it created like a little frenzy. Like, the buyers were still there, but people had been pulling their listings off the market. So people were like, well, I got to buy something.
Yep. I remember several years ago where people in big cities were talking about, multiple offers on homes. And it seems to have declined as home affordability became an issue. And so as prices started going up, and up, that stopped. And I think because you didn't have as many people in the buyer pool who could afford the home. Well, now, due to the rates being so low, affordability is up in some areas. And I think you're seeing more and more people trying to purchase now and have a limited inventory. So it wouldn't surprise me to have that again, but an overall lower number of sales, which I think is what Lawrence Yun is echoing. Tom Tzak clarified and said that was pending contracts in the quote we said earlier. Jason Northcutt says in Dallas-Fort Worth, we've seen 5 to 6% increase in the value in the last 90 days compared to the same time last year. We're averaging 2,000 homes sold per week.
Yeah. By the way, Jason, no, she didn't call me back.
Mike Elizabeth Rodell said, I'm racking up new buyers with no homes to show. I door knocked 3 times last week. The offers we're making are full price.
Yeah. So that shows, just that switch in a 4.5, 5 month period from, fairly stable, fairly average to all of a sudden the average list price to close price went up. So if you're a seller right now, first of all, you got to find an agent because there aren't a ton of them. You got to find an agent that knows what they're doing. And we're already planning for this and already had virtual tours and already had, all those things in place. Cause there's a lot of agents, catching up right now and like, oh my gosh, I have to do Matterport. What's Matterport?
Honestly, if there's an agent that watches the show, they probably knew that months and months ago. So this would be a
Absolutely.
good place. If you're an agent, you should drop down the city and state you work, because if there is a consumer watching, which we do have a lot of consumers that tune into the show to see what's going on in real estate, they may be likely to pick somebody that's actually in the know versus someone that had no idea anything was happening. But yeah, we've been talking about this stuff. That's why I got confused on the first story, because we've been talking about that for weeks.
Yeah. Well, and if you are an agent and you're not part of the shirt that Ray is wearing, the RETV right there, this has been a thing since day one of that group. So go be a part of RETV. It's awesome. I think it's at what, 7,500 now, people?
Are we really? That's a lot.
I think it's at 7,060. I don't know. It's got a really good, but the vibe of the group, no matter how big it's gotten, has always stayed the same. It's always about video, and it's always about the agents and getting help and finding new equipment and new ideas and sharing. It's an amazing group, especially compared to the other ones that are out there.
Yep.
Jason wants to know where his shirt is. It's on its way. They're always perpetually on their way. All right, next one.
Sure.
This one goes a little bit more into it, a little more detailed. So home prices could fall 2 to 3%. Could it dive further? Now, this is from CNBC. Home prices have only fallen nationally once since the Great Depression, not the Great Recession, the Great Depression in 19. What was that, Ray? 29? And that was following.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it's close, right? And was following the subprime mortgage crisis and the Great Recession. Now, barely 8 years after hitting rock bottom, not the Great Recession, hitting rock bottom, which was about 2012. And after a mighty recovery, prices are predicted to fall nationally again, down 2 to 3% this year, according to Zillow. Keep that in mind, according to Zillow. The real estate listing company notes that it is basing its forecast on proprietary data and a baseline. By the way, before the show, I read through the stories to make sure there's any words I can't say. Like I can't say accountability without doing it that way. And proprietary, I always have trouble with too. So I saw that and I'm all, don't say proprietary. All right, anyway. Just a fun side note that no one wanted to know. Basing its forecast on proprietary data and a baseline prediction of a 4.9% decrease in the U.S. GDP in 2020 and as a subsequent 5%. So here, okay, sorry, let me restate this. So they predict a 4.9% decrease in the U.S. GDP in 2020 and a subsequent 5.7 increase. Okay, so a jump. So back up and more in 2021. It also predicts a very fast 50 to 60% decline in home sales, which Tom kind of mentioned in his comment, which would bottom by the end of this spring. So that's a really quick bottom, right? And recover at a pace of about 10% each month through 2021. This is a quote, housing fundamentals are strong, much more so than they were leading into the Great Recession. And that bodes well for housing in general, said Svenja Goodell, Zillow's chief economist. Despite the difficulties, we're seeing several signs that there is still a good amount of demand for housing, and buyers, sellers, and agents are growing more comfortable with moving transactions forward where possible. As a comparison, home prices fell just over 20% nationally during the Great Recession, from their peak in 2006 to the trough in 2012. In some of the nation's largest cities, they fell even harder. Now, by February of this year, prices were 15.5% higher than the 2006 peak and up over 59% from the 2012 trough. So we'd have to fall, Ray, way more than 27% to catch up to where the trough was in 2012.
Which wasn't it Adam? I don't know if he's watching the show this week, but didn't he predict last week a decrease in home prices of 40%? So
it was, remember there was I forget who it was, but it was 15 to 40%.
Yeah, I think it was Adam Johnson. Lauren Chune says home prices will go up 1.3%. Zillow says they'll go down 3%, 2 to 3%. Home sales, all agree, will go down. So it's interesting to hear the contrast in what Zillow's prediction is versus what the National Association of Realtors are. And I would also be very interested to fast forward to the end of the year and see who was right. I tend to think if the inventory stays low, that you should have lower sales and higher prices. If the inventory increases, faster than the buyers can get into the market, that's when you would see home prices go down. But also keep in mind that there's only been 2 recessions that home prices have decreased. And one of them, they decreased to 19%. The other one, they decreased just a couple of percent. So I don't anticipate a decrease because I don't think this is a real recession.
No, it's still, yeah.
Tom Butts says 15 to 40%.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big margin of error.
It is. We kind of covered that on the show.
So true. All right. So now, speaking of, we'd love to hear what you guys think is going to happen in your area. It's kind of a end of Q1 prediction, I guess you could say. But we have seen weekly mortgage applications increase again, which is always a good sign. So mortgage applications show a real recovery in home buying as interest rates set another record low. So this story is one that I kind of got mixed up with a similar story last week. So let me put that on the screen there for you. Okay, so buyers are coming back as we predicted last week. So the total volume rose 0.1%, but it still was up compared to the previous week. However, the big news for sellers, buyers, realtors, lenders, title companies, insurance agents, and anyone involved in a real transaction is this is the 3rd straight week that mortgage purchase volume was up, and it's up 7% from a week earlier. Now that's still 19% lower than last year, but again, it shows a change in the direction of the market, as well as a trend line that continues to switch, as we like to say on the show, as we avoid the word pivot.
Yes.
In the CNBC article, they say that agents are offering virtual showings and live tours. Whoa.
Wow. Weird.
So, and they go on to say that for empty homes, and I would love your opinion on this, guys, because I've never heard of this except for like Opendoor and people like that. For empty homes, agents are allowing do-it-yourself tours using high-tech lock boxes that buyers can access from their smartphones.
So they're so bad.
I've heard of that, and that's super dangerous. So refinances were up 210% from a year ago, but we're down compared to the previous week of 2%, which shows a slight decrease in the amount of refinance volume, and that trend may be starting to change as well.
Well, and I do think it's really important right now because we address, we're a global show. We have viewers all around the world, but we cover mostly national headlines. And usually it's month to month or when they release the new numbers, or we'll even go back to last year. But I think right now it's more important to really know your market and look at these numbers week to week. So when you're seeing them creep back up, now next week they might fall a little bit, right? And all the headlines are, mortgage applications to purchase fall.
Yeah,
but they'll
tank like that. Yeah,
but they're up 7% now. Then they fall back 2.3% or something. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's really important to be on top of your numbers and watch these stories every week here on the Bearded Men Real Estate Show.
Melissa Mara chimes in. She said there are still too many buyers looking to purchase by me.
Wait, just stop there. That's her entire.
Once things ease and homes come back to the market, it will be busier again. We're still seeing multiple offer situations during this weird time.
Yeah. Well, I think in the last story I covered, Ryan, it's a margin of error. You got to put lots of big bunny ears around that one. The last story I covered, it says it, as more and more people become comfortable, because I'm looking at this like this might be the new normal, right? I don't want that, but I have had to adjust my business that way. So for me, it's just people still need to buy and sell houses, so figure out how to do it. So I think people will become more and more comfortable as we go along. And I've said it all over the place. My city, we've been comfortable with it. We're doing the minimums, the basic respect and kind of getting through this, but there's still showings, there's still happenings, and you're seeing, there's still lots of purchases.
Mike Elizabeth Brodell said, well, you've got some interesting Redfin agents I've seen come by, unlock the door, sit in the car while their buyer drives up, goes through the house and leaves, and then they lock up.
Yeah, but that's no difference from before the Rona.
It's true. Before only
they've always
21% less of those people.
They've always done it that way. So that's no new change because of the Rona. Shade.
Speaking of real estate operations that may be more hands off, Dan, you're up.
Opendoor opens its doors. Now, does that work there? Does that work? I think it works.
Yeah, punny.
So I think we covered that. Have we covered specifically Opendoor and how many they laid off? We have, right?
Yeah.
So after pausing, okay, quote unquote, after pausing home acquisitions via its iBuying product in late March, Opendoor has announced that it's getting back in the game. Put me in, coach. Now this one's interesting, by the way. I want to hear because they actually have 3 new products that they're quote unquote releasing. But I'm only covering 2 because they're new. The third one was kind of something they were already doing. But I want to get your feedback on this. We can either deep dive it or have some comments come in. But I really want to get some opinions on their new quote unquote products. So the company, which laid off almost a third of its staff in March due to the Rona, announced on Monday that it would resume operations in Phoenix this week and its Raleigh-Durham market next week. And this article is from Housing Wire. It does say that they're working on opening up Los Angeles, Riverside, California, Dallas, I think. So it talks about it more in detail, but if you want that, go to Housing Wire. You can see it. This is a quote. "We gathered as a company and worked to develop new solutions, new products, and new experiences for consumers," Opendoor Chief Executive Officer Eric Wu said in a statement. Woo! Dude, if we could cue graphics right now, dude, Ric Flair with a woo, that would be amazing. All right. This is all for the future. Remember, we're still in the future. With that, the iBuyer has released new, fully digital, contact-free experiences to help their customers purchase homes while coinciding with social distancing guidelines. So here's the 2 new products. Okay, one is called Sell Direct. Now, this is Opendoor's solution for home sellers to sell homes instantly and contact-free to the company. Okay. This is the Well, whatever. I'll give my opinion. This is the funny part to me. This gives homeowners the certainty of a home sale without worrying about listings. Okay. Open houses. Cool. Repairs. Okay. So they're not going to ask for any repairs and then here's my shade, or getting the most for their home. So remember, this is essentially just a new name. This is a new name. Yeah. Woo. This is a new name for their iBuyer program, right?
Yeah.
So,
essentially.
here's the next one. It's called Home Reserve. Now, there are some companies that do something similar, but this is different. This is being unveiled for homeowners to move into their new home while Opendoor lists their current one. Okay. You got to listen to this. Via Home Reserve, Opendoor will purchase and reserve a customer's next home on their behalf, all cash, all while listing their current empty home, allowing them to move into the new home. There are a lot of slippery slopes on this one, Ray. On both.
I only have one thing to say to that. Oh, yeah.
There we go. live technology you're seeing it happen live on the 3 Minute Real Estate Show.
Well, one thing we know for sure. I just dropped water. One thing we know for sure, that the cream rises to the top.
Oh, geez. Ray's gone down a wormhole.
Here now. It's over.
How many more does he have? It could be endless.
You may not like it, but accept it. That should be the message to all these Opendoor type companies. You may not like it, but you have to accept it.
So, Ray, do you want to hit this now, or you want to come back to it? Let people.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about it now. It seemed like it is a program that others in the industry are already doing.
Well, let me ask the first one. Hold on. Let's go with the Sell Direct first, which is you sell to the company. You don't have to worry about listings, open houses, or repairs, or getting the most for their money, their home, which is we've talked about. It's an iBuyer program, right?
Yeah.
They just came up with a new name, Sell Direct.
Yeah. And then what's the difference in the iBuyer program in that?
I don't know, but in the article, it distinguishes a difference between them. So, I mean, to me, it's just they're just an investor that's going to come in and go, no, we'll give you $280 for your house. I know, but it's worth $350. I know, but right now, $280.
Right now.
Yeah. Right now. Right.
Melissa Marred face palms because Tom Butt said, "Where's my face palm emoji?" Surely that was to Opendoor, not to my memes.
Right.
Michael Elizabeth Rodell says, "Sure, they have empty homes they can move people into since they can't sell what they have."
That is some serious. I stepped up some shade, but that just took it to a new level. So that's this week's shade brought to you by. Still working on it. Okay. So the next one, this one's really interesting to me. So they will, in a market like we're facing right now, Ray, they will buy. So I'm going to go to you. Let's say you are Opendoor. So Ray is Opendoor. And I say, hey, I have a house to sell. And then I'm also going to buy. And then you say, I'll buy the house you want, all cash right now. And then we'll list your home. What are the pitfalls there?
I'm trying to find. I'm literally doing a live lookup now. Okay, so isn't this essentially like a bridge loan?
Yes, but they're buying the house. Is that they have a? I mean, Opendoor is going to own that house for you until you can actually buy it from them.
So that is what it wasn't Opendoor. We talked about a new player hitting the market that would allow you. You remember this? That would allow you to buy a home.
And then you rent it back until you can own it.
You rent it. Yes. And then you rent it back from them until you own it. And then you only pay for the percentage of equity. You remember that?
Yeah. And then, but you never really own it until you buy all the equity kind of thing. Wasn't that it?
Correct. Yeah. It was a startup that was doing this. So it seems like they borrowed another idea from that startup.
Yeah.
I wonder if the same rules apply.
They're just making it sound like it's an HGTV show. You go out, you look at 3 homes, you have a little bit of a conversation about those 3, and then you offer one, and then you get that one.
Yeah.
They're way oversimplifying this. It's just not that simple. When you have a home to sell and buy, it is not that simple.
I wonder what the practicality of it is and how that works. It does sound simple. It sounds like, but I think the difference is going to be in the details of the number. Like you could simplify the process, but if you don't give the people the number they want, it's not going to work.
Yeah. I don't remember if it was called Home Partners, but Brian has one.
Home Partners. They buy the house for cash and do a lease purchase. It seemed like it was a different name.
Yeah.
Sort of.
And I also don't know if you also had a home to sell as well. Was that part of it on the other one we covered? I don't recall.
Yeah. I think that was the deal. Let's see. It would buy the home. No. That one that you could buy a home. I can't remember, man. It's in a previous show. We'll have to look.
We cover a lot of stories on the show. So if we can't remember all of them, we do apologize.
David says what this points out is consumers want options.
They do. Even if they're bad options.
It also points out that they want options, but they also want ease. They want the home buying process to be simplified, and they're looking for anything to do that. Melissa Mar says it was either the Home Partners, but she can't remember it either.
Purple roof.
Purple roof. No, one purple roof. But I could see that happening. A purple siding.
Yeah. So I find it interesting. I think it'll gain some interest by people that are clicking through their site. But I mean, I have to imagine that it was a weirdly named startup for sure. But I think it'll be one of those things when you dive into the small print, I think you're going to realize that it's just not feasible. I don't know how it could be. I mean, there are companies out there that offer to buy your listing from you as you go and look. So now you're not contingent on selling a home any longer. That is putting the horse before the cart. This seems like you're putting the cart before the horse.
Easy Knock.
Is
that it?
No.
Easy Knock is a company that is allowing people to access equity in their home that have been shut out by traditional lending market, said Jared Kessler, CEO of Easy Knock.
Maybe it was
Easy Knock model is not for the traditional purchase. It's the same basically as what we have talked about, but there is a company called Easy Knock that does it. I don't remember that being the name either.
Bokro said Trio.
Roof Stock. It's not Trio. I'll recognize it when we see it. I mean, we'll find it. Anyway, we've digressed. All right.
Okay. I don't know if it was Trio, but this is the same thing that he's talking about. Yeah, it's a lease to own kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh, it was Trio. It could have been Trio.
Trio sounds.
Yeah. Yes, consumers want simple, just like HGTV. Yeah, television.
And by the way, when you work with a great agent like me, it totally can be.
It's true. He helps people find one of three, especially if you're recently unemployed and have a budget of 1.5 million.
No, they're not employed. One of them paints leaves and the other one sharpens pencils.
There you go. Speaking of gainful unemployment, let's talk about I guess another sad story. Airbnb is cutting their staff. It seems like they would do this earlier because we've been talking about the impact of the coronavirus and COVID-19 and its impact on the hospitality industry for a long time now. But they're now making this move, which is interesting. All right. So home vacation rental broker Airbnb announced Tuesday that it would be cutting 1,900 jobs, or about 25% of its global workforce. It's no surprise that the hospitality and travel industries have been hit hard by shelter-in-place orders. And in a note from Airbnb co-founder and CEO, he stated that while we know Airbnb's business will fully recover, the changes it will undergo are not temporary or short-lived.
Yeah.
So because of this, we need to make more fundamental changes to Airbnb by reducing the size of our workforce around more focused business strategy. They said that we don't know exactly when travel will return, but when travel does return, it will look different. They are continuing to cover 12 months of health insurance for its employees in the U.S., and they will receive 14 weeks of base pay.
That's good.
So they're having to lay off a bunch of people, but they are trying to do it right. So I do commend them for that.
Yeah.
But I thought that was an interesting quote that he said, while we know Airbnb's business will fully recover, the changes it will undergo are not temporary or short-lived. It should say nor short-lived, right? Shouldn't it say nor short-lived?
Nor short-lived.
But is that a double negative whenever you do not and nor?
There, we say it again.
It says the changes that will undergo are not temporary or short-lived. Maybe that's right. Somebody who knows English.
They're not or, right.
I thought it was not nor.
If you say nor, I mean, they're independent of each other. Anyway. On this week's English lesson, well, I think this was inevitable. Obviously, the hotel industry has been hit hard.
What are the changes that are going to be permanent?
That's what I want to know. I think these changes were inevitable, but what's the permanent? Is that like a hint to something? Like, we're not bringing y'all back. Like,
honestly, I wasn't going to even cover this story until I saw that quote.
Right.
While Airbnb's business will fully recover, the changes it will undergo are not temporary. I guess that means the changes their company will, but he goes on to say that the industry will be changed.
Yeah. I mean,
he's vague booking.
I do think he's vague booking. I do think that is an industry that's, even if tomorrow said, hey, we have a cure, everyone's cool, you can go out and do everything normal as of tomorrow at noon. I think that it'll take, remember, everyone's not going to go, they're still going to go outside and go, I don't know, humans are kind of gross, man. Like, they're going to still have that hesitation. I think that industry is going to take a while to kind of generate, recover.
David says, I don't think those laid off will be coming back. That's true. He said won't be coming back. Yep. So I don't think they'll be coming back either. I think that's in part what he means. But as far as like the industry changing and how that's going to be different, that's just an interesting conversation. Melissa Mark says there's a hotel in Wildwood that has flat out said, we're skipping the season and not opening this year. Wow. Mike Elizabeth Rodell with a valiant point. Gray in America is Gray. In England is Grey, which I've always been confused about that too.
Yeah.
Gray,
I've always looked at it like one's the color and one's a person's name. I don't know.
That's in America. That's how we do it, but no. And color. Yeah.
Yeah. Color or advertisement. Controversy.
Speaking of advertisement, it's time to tell you our sponsor, which we don't have. So But there was another comment that I've skipped over that I think is apropos for this time. Ryan Bokros said Realtor.com had a big layoff yesterday as well.
And almost magically, when he commented, the article appeared from our producers.
It's interesting that you say that, Ryan.
Because Realtor.com announces layoffs and ongoing realignment, Ray. It's called a realignment, not a shift, not a pivot, not a switch, a realignment. So
sounds like some people got the switch.
They're getting the Switch right now. They were excited. Ooh, like a Nintendo Switch? No. Not that. This is from Housing Wire. So as the Rona continues to impact the real estate industry, Realtor.com has laid off employees as part of an ongoing organizational realignment across Move, which is a subsidiary of News Corp and the operator of Realtor.com. The company said that the impact of the Rona factored in everything. This is COVID. I'm just changing to Rona. The company that said the impact of the Rona factored in the changes as well. So it was part of it, but not the only reason, which I found very interesting. So they're saying, no, we were already doing this stuff. This isn't because of the Rona. So this isn't, it's not at all from it at all, is kind of what they're saying. So in a letter obtained by Housing Wire from Move CEO David Doctorow to employees, Doctorow said that the decision was necessary as part of broader efforts to cut expenses. Now, here's his quote. When I arrived in early February, so he was the new guy in February, comes in and says, I'm going to save you guys money by cutting all your staff. Typical CEO move, or VP move. I began a process with the leadership team to review the company's strategy and structure with an eye towards simplification, clear and greater accountability. There's that word I can't always say, and faster decision-making and execution. So he continues, in April, we took the first step in streamlining the company by announcing changes at the leadership level. Some of today's, meaning yesterday, some of today's actions represent the next step of this process. The letter stated that its realignments were made across functions and levels in the company, with every office and business unit affected, but did not provide exact numbers on how many employees were let go on Tuesday. In light of the pandemic, Realtor.com has recently extended its billing reduction program and launched live streaming open houses as solutions to its consumers.
Can we pause for a minute?
Yep.
And talk about what a fantastic name Doctorow is? It sounds like a evil genius in James Bond. Oh, you actually paused for a whole minute.
I paused for a second.
Mike Elizabeth Odell said, I think you have a lot of companies that are finding they don't need brick and mortar and they should be able to cut a lot of support personnel and still be profitable. Ryan goes on to say, Dan, you should love this. The Op City guys are taking over.
Oh, that's a big one, man. Is that a real thing or are you making a joke, Bokros?
I think that's kind of what's happening.
Whoa.
Melissa Marr said, like they were thinking about it anyways, but Rona just ticked it up the list of things that needed to be done. I think that's actually happened a lot. I think Compass did that too. It's kind of used the pandemic to lay off 15% of its staff that it really probably could cut the fluff in.
Yeah.
Right.
I need to look into this. I need to look into Op City taking over. That's
sounds about right.
making
the phone calls.
Well, because Realtor.com bought Op City, right? But who was actually getting all the leads in and making all the calls? Op City. Whoa, that's amazing. So the new coup.
No joke, that new COO, CMO, another top level industry was ushered in from the Op City group that was acquired.
So
I wonder if they're going to be realtor friendly, Realtor.com.
They used to be before we sold them.
Mm-hmm.
It
sounds like Realtor needs money. Maybe you should offer to buy them.
Yeah.
I cannot believe they sold that. All right. So are you ready to deep dive this story real fast?
Yeah. And I have, wow, there you go. Inman, Op City leaders have elevated fund. Wow. Yeah. And I just went off on them. I went off on them last week in an email and in a text, by the way. They think they're pulling a fast one on agents, but when you really research it, you realize what's going on, especially when you have friends like Ryan who also dives into what's going on, and they just it's not cool at all. They double dip.
Yep.
Now they're gonna triple dip. Okay, what do we got?
All right. Transition or no? Nah, we won't do the transition.
We've already done one, and it was epic. We're good.
So this is an interesting story.
I have not read this one.
A Louisiana home is too haunted to sell, so its owners are giving it away. Dun-dun. So the reason why I thought that was interesting, kind of spooky. That was kind of a spooky.
What?
Dun-dun-dun. Okay, so the reason I thought this was interesting is because we've talked about haunted houses before, believe it or not. One of the things we discussed is that sometimes the value is more because it's haunted.
Yeah, I'm really interested in this house.
So a Louisiana house has been given away for free to anyone who wants it and can pay to have it moved. There's a little caveat, but its locals are calling it too haunted to live in. Back in March, a local realtor and developer, Sylvia McLean, wrote a Facebook post saying our 4-bedroom, 2-story house in the city of Lafayette would be given away for free to anyone who could cover the moving costs. Her company, McLean Development, bought the lot on Verreau School. I'm assuming it's because there's not a friend on there. Verreau School Road a few months ago to develop the neighborhood. Now they want to free up the space while preserving the history of the home. It was built in the early 1920s. I have a house for sale that was built in the 1920s, by the way. Let's see. We've concentrated our efforts in development and the cost saving as many of trees as possible. Simply do not have a place in the neighborhood for the home. So there you go.
So wait,
too haunted to sell. Here's that part.
Or we don't have enough room for it.
Yeah. I think the reality is a gotcha headline, but it's still kind of interesting.
Wait. Go back up real quick.
Yep.
No, right above, right up. It says right there. It says you may recognize the home.
Where? Purchase. I don't see that you may recognize. Where's that?
Just above.
Oh, you may recognize the home that's located at Verreau School Road. It's the old Grandview nursery home built in the 20s and 30s.
Okay, so it wasn't like on a show or anything. They just mean for locals.
Oh, right.
Okay.
I thought maybe you saw someone in the window.
That's a great zoom again.
This window.
Or we have to get that.
Okay. So this, you go on to read the article and you think, oh, okay, they just don't want to move it. Listen to this part. Moving costs aren't the main reason some locals are rejecting McLean's offer. Not long after the post went viral in May, Lafayette locals started commenting, saying it was haunted. One woman, Dawn Valo Decleux, said that her great-grandmother Adele used to live in the house and still roams its halls occasionally as a ghost. She lived to be almost 90 and was always digging in the pots, like when you have something in the stove and someone goes and looks for the pot and stirs it around. Told the British newspaper, she was well known for that. And so when we lived there, we used to hear all the time jiggling pots when we had something on the stove. In the comments, locals discussed moving costs, while others commented on whether history with Adele would be a problem for the residents.
I mean,
it's haunted as hell, said local resident.
But I mean,
so in my experience, haunted houses sell for more because you have all the ghost hunters and all those folks that start to get in there.
Well, it's also not
with Rose. Who's it haunted by? It's haunted by Adele.
Adele, 90 years.
That's a better headline to this article. Home haunted by Adele for sale.
Yeah.
Melissa Mara said Adele needs to chill. You know what? I think there were probably people walking through there, and the first time they realized it was haunted, they probably just heard someone go, "Hello, can you hear me?"
Hello from the other. No.
Oh, literally, hello from the other side. That's what this song is about. but it's not a hostile ghost, just a
So-
cook.
Ray, this entire article is a troll gone wrong, and they're like, "Oh no, people think it's really haunted." They were just trying to troll an Adele hello joke from the other side. It's a ghost, get it?
Yeah, makes sense to me.
But it's not a hostile. Yeah, it's just a cook. Like, it's just gonna make you like a yummy comfort food.
It's just gonna jiggle the pots and pans and maybe cook something here and there.
Right. But like
And then
too
steam
haunted,
on
though. Too haunted is like the poltergeist house, like where poltergeists are running around the house in and out, or like the penthouse in Ghostbusters. Okay, that's too haunted.
Yeah. Melissa Vara said clearly on the other side.
So, have you ever shown or sold a haunted house, Ray?
Yes. I have shown one and gotten a call from an agent who told me about one. So I actually, I should probably put these in, change the name of the people to protect the guest, right?
Yeah.
So there was a house that somebody had died in, and a person called the agent and said, "Hey, has anyone ever died in that home?" And the other agent was like, "Yeah." "Why?" And they said, "Because my kid ran out of the first bedroom screaming, saying she grabbed my leg, and there was no one in there."
That's a kid, though.
The kid apparently was autistic / Asperger's or something, and was sensitive to spirits.
Ooh.
Yeah. So that's my only story. Actually, I did hear another story of an agent going up to a house that was supposed to be vacant. And she called the person that sent her this house to list or whatever and said, "Hey, there's someone here in the house. I can see him at the door. Are you sure it's vacant?"
Oh.
And she said, "Yeah, it's vacant. It's supposed to be vacant. There's no one supposed to be there. What's the person look like?" She described the person, and it was that person's grandmother who passed away in the home.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's the only other experience that I've heard.
It was Adele.
Hello, it's me.
She was probably rolling in the deep.
So Lee, drop in the comments your haunted house showing story, because I'd love to hear some more of those.
I have a really good one. It was full on, not too haunted, but it was a badass. I mean, it was really beat up, but it was a badass, built in the teens, the 19s. So over 100 years old. And this thing was 1,000% haunted, and it was in Hollywood. So even cooler, right? Haunted by, just old movie stars or whatever. But it was just every single turn you took was some new creepy thing. And at one point, now we're going to assume that now, okay, so two things. We're going to assume that this light that came on was on a timer. But this house was so old. I mean, it had knob and tube. I don't feel like someone would have a timer in this house. It wasn't like an updated technologically sound house. Okay. It was kind of,
they had no Amazon Echo up in there.
Right. But so as there was a cool like attic, and then there was a side attic that you had to go through to get to this weird room that was the only one way you could get there. And you kind of had to crawl through it and duck down through it. I mean, it was just like a Goonies house, man. It was awesome. But then going down to the basement, it was full on big stairs. And as you go down the stairs, there's a wall. Okay. So for the listeners, like straight ahead of you is a wall as the stair goes down under it. And there was a dress, like an old wedding dress, displayed on this wall, not lit up when we went downstairs. Okay. Not a lot of lights in this house. So as we were coming back up, the light had come on. Dude.
That's weird.
Dude. And again, this isn't a smart home. I'm willing to bet, and why was there a light that just shone so weirdly and creepily on this one wedding dress and the wedding? So something went on there, but man, it was a badass house. It was cool, but yeah, need a lot of work. So that's why my clients didn't go for it. They didn't care about the haunting.
So it had nothing to do with that. It was just all the work that was required.
No, it's
Melissa
just
Mara, she said showing no, but my old partner listed a house. Seller sent us a video of it in the basement. Of it meaning the ghost.
was he clowning around?
What does it mean?
It get it? It.
It's crazy. Anyway, so whoa, what is that? What just happened?
We got to go.
Okay, guys. Before we leave, though, because it's more important than me dying in a ghost situation.
Yep.
Where can everybody find you, Dan?
DLudwigRocks everywhere. We got to hurry. DLUDWIGROCKS everywhere. Where can they find you, Ray?
Right. Ray Zorback. I'm right there. RAYZORBACK. I'll see you guys later.
Be safe, buddy. Woo!